Respect is like a shadow. The more you chase it, the faster it runs away. But the moment you stop running, it quietly follows you. Most people spend their lives begging for respect like a thirsty man chasing a mirage in the desert. They run harder, they sweat more, yet the water is never real. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists," and the same is true for respect. The more you seek it from others, the less of it you keep for yourself. So if chasing respect doesn't work, what should you do instead? That's what this video is about. Chasing respect is like standing in the middle of a crowded street, holding up a sign that says, "Please notice me." People look, but they don't stop. Respect is never given to the loudest voice in the room. It is given to the calm one who doesn't need to speak. Think of a lion. The lion doesn't walk around reminding the jungle that he is powerful. He doesn't explain himself. He doesn't negotiate his authority. And yet, every animal moves aside. But now imagine a dog barking nonstop, trying to look dangerous. The barking isn't strength, it's insecurity wearing noise. Psychologist Alfred Adler believed that much of human behavior is driven by a hidden feeling of inferiority. The greater the feeling of inferiority, the more intense the striving for superiority. In simple words, the more someone tries to look important, the less important they feel inside. Chasing respect is emotional begging. It's like knocking on someone's door again and again, hoping they'll invite you in. But real respect is when people open the door without you knocking. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't respect effort. They respect position. A tree is respected not because it asks for shade, but because it stands still long enough for others to rest under it. When you explain yourself too much, you shrink. When you seek validation, you leak power. Carl Jung warned us about this trap. People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And chasing respect is often just that, avoiding the hard work of becoming someone worth respecting. Silence, discipline, and boundaries are heavy. That's why most people drop them. They choose noise instead. But respect is attracted to weight, not movement. A mountain doesn't chase travelers. Travelers find the mountain. In the next few minutes, we'll talk about the first real alternative to chasing respect. How withdrawing attention can make people feel your presence more. Most people think presence is created by being everywhere, talking more, explaining more, proving more. But presence doesn't come from noise, it comes from absence. Think of the sun. It doesn't scream for attention, it doesn't chase the earth. Sometimes it disappears behind clouds, and only then do we realize how much we need it. Attention works the same way. When you are always available, always responding, always explaining, you become background noise, like music playing in a store no one remembers. But when you step back, silence enters the room. And silence is loud. Withdrawing attention is not weakness. It's like removing a mirror from someone who only knows how to look at themselves. Suddenly, they feel empty. Psychologist William James said, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated. When you stop feeding that craving, people feel the hunger. Imagine a campfire. If you keep throwing wood non-stop, the fire loses shape. But when you pause, the flames rise higher. Boundaries work the same way. People don't value what they can touch anytime. They value what has distance. A painting hung too low becomes invisible. Lift it higher, and suddenly people step back to look. This is why confident people don't chase conversations. They let conversations come to them. They don't rush to reply, they don't over-explain, they don't fight to be understood by everyone. Carl Jung put it simply, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Withdrawal isn't disappearing. It's choosing where your energy goes. A sniper doesn't fire every second. He waits. A king doesn't knock on doors. Doors open. When you pull your attention back, people feel the vacuum, and human nature hates empty space. In the next few minutes, we'll talk about something even harder, how self-respect quietly forces others to adjust their behavior around you. Self-respect is not something you announce. It's something people feel, the same way they feel gravity, even when they can't see it. You don't need to tell someone you value yourself. Just like a locked door doesn't explain why it's closed. It simply is. Most people confuse self-respect with confidence. Confidence is a voice. Self-respect is a presence. Confidence can shake. Presence doesn't. Think about a glass of clean water. If it's pure, you don't need to stir it to prove anything. But the moment you keep shaking it, people start wondering what you're trying to hide. Self-respect shows up in small, quiet ways. Walking away when something feels off. Saying no without a speech. Letting misunderstandings live. Psychologist Eric Fromm once said, "Respect is not fear. It is the recognition of another person as distinct and unique." And here's the paradox. The more you respect your own boundaries, the more others are forced to recognize them. A person without self-respect is like a house with no walls. Anyone can walk in, anyone can rearrange the furniture. But a person with self-respect is like a fortress with open gates, welcoming, yet controlled. People behave differently around strength they cannot manipulate. You'll notice it. Voices soften. Jokes stop crossing the line. Disrespect never fully enters the room. Not because you demanded it, but because your behavior rewrote the rules. Carl Rogers said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." Self-respect begins with acceptance, not approval from others. A scale doesn't argue with weight, it simply measures. And when people sense that you no longer measure yourself by their reactions, they adjust. In the final minutes, we'll bring everything together and talk about how becoming unbothered is the ultimate form of power. Being unbothered is not apathy. It's clarity. It's the moment you realize that not every knock deserves an answer, not every noise is a threat, and not every opinion deserves space in your mind. An unbothered person is like a deep ocean. The surface may move, but the depth remains untouched. Most people live like puddles. Every step disturbs them. When you stop reacting, people notice. Not because you changed your behavior, but because you removed their control. Psychologist Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power. That space is where respect is born." Being unbothered is choosing not to attend every argument you're invited to. It's like declining a boxing match when you know the opponent is only fighting shadows. A candle doesn't argue with the dark. It just burns. When you become unbothered, you stop chasing reactions, you stop explaining intentions, you stop negotiating your worth, and that's when respect arrives. Not loudly, but permanently. Respect is not something you demand. It's something people give when they realize you don't need it to stand tall. Like a crown worn naturally, not adjusted every minute. So never chase respect. Build a life so grounded, so quiet, so solid, that respect has no choice but to find you.